ontem, dia 22 de abril, foi Dia Internacional da Mãe Terra, ou Dia Internacional da Terra. E por isso, oportunamente, temos agora a possibilidade de ouvir Ray Archuleta, conhecido internacionalmente como The Soil Guy. Ele é agrónomo com mais de 30 anos de experiência no USDA, Natural Resources Conservation Service, e teremos também connosco, em palco, nesta dinâmica que vamos querer criar, o João Ferreira, que é responsável do projeto agrícola da Casa Mendes Gonçalves, meu querido amigo que está aqui também, e também teremos a participação do João Valente, da Monte Silveira Bio, aliás, fundador do projeto. São ambos profissionais ligados à prática e à formação em agricultura regenerativa. Comecemos por isso pelo princípio, comecemos pelo solo. Uma salva de palmas para os três. Welcome, Ray. Please step on the stage. Thank you so much.
Então, bom dia. Eu acho que é um presente que me deram estar aqui. E eu, depois da performance do Zé Pedro, que estou a ouvir desde o início da sessão, e da moderação da Conceição, da nossa magnífica Conceição, eu fiquei do que é que eu vou dizer. Eu não preparei nada, eu passei 3 dias com este homem, 3 dias fantásticos a aprender com ele, e agora tenho uma grande honra e privilégio de estar ao lado destas duas pessoas. Nós começámos um projeto de agricultura regenerativa na Casa Mendes Gonçalves em 2017, e desde então eu tive o privilégio de começar a trabalhar com o Jorge Ferreira, que está aqui, conhecer o fantástico Luís Alves, que tinha um projeto fantástico de aromáticas e que hoje trabalha connosco, e de ser inspirado pelo Ernst Goetz, pelo Filipe Pazzini, pela Diana Andrade, e ter a honra também de hoje estar com eles todos os dias e de eles estarem aqui connosco no nosso projeto. E vou ficar para sempre agradecido ao Carlos e agora muito agradecido ao Tiago e a toda a equipa da Fundação por estar aqui ao pé deste senhor, que eu não sei quantos vocês estão aqui hoje, estão aqui principalmente para o ver, mas eu calculo que são muitos, então eu começava só por perguntar quantos daqui assistiram ao documentário Kiss the Ground. Ponham-se de pé, por favor.
Oh, wonderful. Wow.
Did you understand what I asked?
Well, I would imagine you said how many watched Kiss the Ground?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I understood.
E uma coisa que eu vou já pedir desculpa é esta sessão vai ser em inglês porque durante 3 dias nós tentámos ensinar português ao Ray.
I don't know what that meant.
Because we tried to teach you for 3 days straight to teach you Portuguese. And can you say João now?
João? No. João?
So,
no.
And yeah, we
John,
failed.
as John.
So we are John. And e agora vou fazer mais um bocadinho em português. E tenho aqui também um grande privilégio de estar com uma pessoa que eu acho que também é um presente para ele estar aqui connosco no palco, mas para mim é ainda mais, que é o João Valente, que é um dos pioneiros, se não o pioneiro em agricultura regenerativa em Portugal. Foi o primeiro com certificação Regenerative Organic e é o fundador do Monte Silveira. E eu peço uma salva de palmas também para o João. E peço ao João para falar 2 minutos do projeto dele antes de passarmos o microfone ao Ray. E nós vamos alterar isto porque, na verdade, eu e o João não queremos ficar aqui a ver o Ray de costas, nós queremos assistir. Por isso, de seguida, vamos dar-lhe o palco e eu e o João vamos também para aí assistir. João, por favor.
Muito obrigado, João. Muito obrigado à Fundação pelo convite. Obrigado a toda a equipa da Fundação. Para mim, pessoalmente, ter encontrado estas pessoas, esta estrutura, foi quase uma continuidade das pessoas que me rodeiam, da minha família. Para mim, as pessoas com quem eu trabalho é como se fosse uma família. E enaltecer a ousadia que vocês têm, que o Carlos tem, o espírito de inconformado, de querer mais, de querer fazer diferente, porque isso é também a identidade do nosso projeto. Portanto, muito obrigado por quererem saber de mim, de nós, do projeto Monte Silveira, que precisa desta conectividade tipo micélio para poder crescer. Eu acho que é assim que se consegue fazer trabalhos da verdadeira regeneração. Nós, como o João diz, resolvemos aqui alterar um bocadinho o conceito à última da hora. Eu acho que é um privilégio ter uma pessoa como o Ray em palco, e acho que é importante ouvirmos a apresentação dele do que estar a quebrá-la com perguntas e respostas a meio dessa apresentação, porque nós conhecemos e sabemos aquilo que ele vai transmitir, portanto, acho que não fazia sentido, do ponto de vista técnico e prático, fazê-lo. O meu projeto, eu penso que já toda a gente conhece, mas para os que não conhecem, portanto, é um projeto agrícola, qual começou por ser agrícola. Neste momento está assente em 4 pilares, que é a investigação, a parte do impacto social, também nós temos e achamos que o devemos fazer, e mais recentemente a parte do turismo. A parte da investigação surgiu porque eu passava a minha vida a nadar ou a estar em sítios onde não tinha pé, não se sabia nada e pouco se sabe de agricultura regenerativa, estamos apenas no princípio, temos mais de 80 anos de outro tipo de agricultura, que não critico, foi o que foi a evolução da humanidade, mas senti que se quisesse escalar a agricultura regenerativa, se quisesse comunicar com players da indústria, da ciência, tinha que ter data, conhecimento, para falar não de forma romântica, mas de forma técnica e com outro tipo de conteúdo. A parte da responsabilidade social vem do mesmo ADN que o Carlos tem e, mais recentemente, a parte do turismo, que o João Rodrigues sabe perfeitamente como é que funciona. Acho que é um pilar que faz parte e fecha todo este nosso projeto. Não me considero uma referência, nem um pioneiro. Trabalho todos os dias e trabalhamos todos da nossa equipa com humildade e com muita vontade de aprender. E vai ser assim até que tenha forças para cá estar, e espero que por mais uns anos que nem sequer se fale do meu nome e que seja o projeto que consiga continuar por ele próprio. Muito obrigado. Nós no final vamos aqui dar 15, 20 minutos para fazer perguntas e respostas ao Ray. The stage is yours.
Oh,
enjoy.
Thank you. I think can you hear it? Good. Thank you. Bom dia. Did I say it right? When I started this, I do know how to speak Spanish. I do speak 3 languages: English, Spanish, and Spanglish. We do that often in the United States. Thank you for inviting me in your amazing country. Sonia, my wife, raise your hand. This is my wife, Sonia. After my talk, you can give condolences. Oh, poor thing. Without my wife, I couldn't be traveling all over the world. So thank you, my love. And I got to thank you, John, the 2 Johns, because I'm not going to say it over again because I always mess it up. And Anna, raise your hand, Anna. I love Anna because we know now who does all the work on the farm, and it's not John, it's Anna. Okay? Yeah. One thing I get really excited about women coming back into agriculture, and it's amazing. I have 3 daughters, and I'm here to tell you, without the women, there would be no change in agriculture. So thank you, ladies, because, and I'm serious, biology, in my mind, was brought by the women. They brought biology and life and told us about it's alive. So let me get started real quick because I got a lot to share with you. As I've been told, I only have 45 minutes, and they're going to drag me out of the stage. So it was interesting listening to Portuguese. I was trying to see if some of my Spanish, I can pick up the Portuguese in Portugal, and I come to the realization, no, because it sounds so much like Russian and Ukrainian, and I say, wow, I'm not going to be able to do this. So today I want to focus on these 3 concepts that I want you to walk away with that is very common and a big problem throughout the world. And the first one is, and one of the things I like to teach is the power of one. The power of one, and I'm going to talk about that. And that all is one. One of the things that we've done a very poor job in our educational system. Number 2, mindset. As I keep teaching all over the world, the biggest issue to overcome is the human mind and the framework that we created. We interpret the world through our lenses. The third thing is understanding the goal. And I teach farmers the goal is not to be an almond grower, to raise cattle. Those are all the things we do. But the real goal is how do you mimic nature and how do you emulate the design that you can get your almonds and your pecans and whatever crop you get or what animal you raise. So social conditioning also, I just want to say real quick, has been the most detrimental force for regenerative agriculture to spread. Well, let's get going. Let me give you, Now, let me start. I think this is one of the most powerful examples how we can understand everything is one and the power of one and the connectedness. When I first read this book, Chaos, it was spectacular in my mind because we deal with such an elegant planet and everything is connected. And that's what really ecology is saying. All is one, all is connected. Dr. Edward Lorenz, a brilliant mathematician, an amazing climatic scientist. He's the one that coined the phrase, the butterfly effect. How many have heard of the butterfly effect? How many understand it? I dimly understand it. But let me share how I understand it and the beauty of connectedness and the oneness. It all started like this. Dr. Lorenz was working, this was a computer back in the 40s. Okay? What happened was something spectacular, something amazing, and sometimes the best things of science happens by accident, or is it? What happened, he was working on his computer, it was working, and he was trying to predict the climate. He had 12 parameters he put in the model. He noticed all of a sudden the computer went down. He said, well, I don't have time. I'm going to go grab a cup of coffee. And I said, what I will do, instead of using 6 digits from my computer model, because he was running in such detail, I'll put it with 3 digits. It's not going to make the difference on how it predicts the weather. To his amazement and his shock, he was wrong. Taking it all down to 6 digits made the difference whether the model predicted sun or rain. So the reality of the coined statement, the butterfly effect, showed that any tiny little change in the system, no matter on the 6 digits in measuring, can change the outcome. The concept was this: can the flapping of the wings of a butterfly in Brazil create enough air movement to create a tornado in the Midwest of the United States? And the answer is yes. Any tiny change in a giant biological system can have a powerful outcome. This is why today we still have to use supercomputers, even artificial intelligence, and they still have to run many, many models and use satellite imagery and still be wrong about the weather. Ladies and gentlemen, working with the farm and the ranch is the same way, dealing with such elegance and a delicate system that changes readily at all times. So the butterfly effect really ties the fact that everything is connected, everything is one. In fact, all of you have experienced the butterfly effect. That documentary coming at the right time, showing up at the right place, and people seeing the work was a butterfly effect that changed my life. Marrying my wife, Sonia, that butterfly effect changed my life. It changed the outcome. You all experienced the butterfly effect. If one little tiny thing had altered your destination, it would have been totally different. That's what farming and ranching is. One subtle change in the weather changes the outcome. That's why I hate when farmers say, I'm just a farmer. Farming and ranching is the most complex thing you can do on the planet. Only the smartest really should be farming and ranching if you're going to do it regeneratively. Let's continue down this path. My journey was to eliminate this. After 30 years of government failure that I was working for the government, this was happening all over the planet. That I could see that our soils were thirsty, hungry, running a fever, and starving to death. See, because most of us were taught that the soil is not a living organism. And that the plant, the ancient people knew that the plant was the mouth of the soil. It was a protective covering. This is a common thing that we see on a global scale. This is what I was hired to stop. We were receiving, back in the 30s when our agency was invented, was to prevent this happening in our country. Notice on the picture on the right, I put organic system. Because people complain about the chemistry that's being used, but please understand, ladies and gentlemen, the planet, we were already destroying our soils before even chemistry came in. Some of the most destroyed farms I have seen are organic farmers. And I love organic farms, and I buy organic. Please, there was no chemistry before the 30s. We've already destroyed a majority of our soils with overgrazing and massive tillage. Was it the tools? It wasn't. It was our understanding and the framework on the way we looked at the natural system. So my job was to prevent this. This is a global issue throughout the world. It happens in Portugal, Spain, everywhere. Very common. There it is. Took the picture 4 days ago. That's why my wife does not allow me to drive, because I would be all over the road. I look at the landscape, she drives. But this is what I'm always looking at. Why? It is interesting, as I told the class yesterday, we as humans are enamored with our tools. Even a chimpanzee, when it wants to break out a nut, and it uses a rock, a tool, it doesn't sit there and fall in love with the rock and look at and say, oh, my rock. But humans do. Look at my tillage. Look at my piece of equipment. It is never about the tools. It's about the understanding. But we have even called some of our conferences the no-till conference. You missed the goal. The goal should have been the regenerative conference. And then they wonder why nobody shows up to the conference, because you call yourself the tool. This is the issue throughout our country. We are having our farmers are going broke. That's another thing that bothered me so much. We have spent billions of dollars, and yet we're going broke. The real issue is a lot of the wealth is going to corporate America. Since the 1920s through 2016, the wealth is going to corporate America. And yet I would say to myself, how can it be that we have some of the most amazing work, we get to be in God's creation, and yet our farmers have the highest depression rate than any other working group? Some of the 5 top careers, farming has the highest suicide rate, and ranching. I said, how can that be? It's the stress. I call farmers, you are the poorest millionaires I know. You are worth millions in land and equipment, but no cash flow. The stress is brutal. This is what's happening to rural America. If you drove our country, and it would take 3 days, this would be a common sight. The blessings of the land used to flow from the farmer to the local store, to the local shoe store, to the local community. Now the wealth of the land flows to John Deere, to Monsanto, to the corporate world. Now, please don't not misunderstand me. I am not against the tool makers. I am against the farmers and the ranchers going broke. That's the problem I have. This is the concept that we have in our agriculture of no relationship with the soil. This is regenerative agriculture having relationship, that we are capturing sun to the last minute, and we're covering it and feeding it to the last minute. This is the difference and the sharp contrast of regenerative agriculture. And then you can see it also too, the way we raise our animals. On the left side has no respect for the design of the animal. On the right side has love and respect for the design. So what we have done is we have reduced the natural system into a factory and did not realize that we were doing that. Now, please understand when I'm saying this, I supported this. I believed that. That was my filter. And when I work with producers that are still caught in that filter and that thought process, I treat them with love and respect and remember I came from there and how to talk to them. Let me show you how we build that relationship between the left and the right. And most people don't realize this is why a lot of our young people do not want to eat meat anymore. A majority of our issue, my education, my college, this is a perfect image to show 8 years of university. My education was fragmented. Chemistry here, biochemistry here, mathematics here, agriculture here, agronomy here. But I did not have one professor tell me, Ray, focus, like my wife talks to me, focus. Not one professor told me, or one teacher, my cousin, my relative, or mentor, no one told me, Ray, if you're going to be involved in agriculture, your job is to mimic nature, to love it, to nurture it, to understand that it's alive. What I learned, it is a battle, control, force, manipulate. It's a battle. I have to get up every morning to see what I have to kill because nature is going to control me. It's going to force me to starvation. That's the thought I learned. But rarely do I hear anybody says, no, your job is to work with it, to understand it. Totally different concept. Totally different takeaway. This is holism. We learned reductionism from the Greeks and the Romans. From Eastern cultures, holism. See the whole. Don't break it up into pieces. Understand the connectedness. If you do not understand connectedness, then you're going to make decisions because you're not going to realize the possible outcomes because everything is connected. Why are you spraying? How is that going to impact this creature? How is it going to impact that insect? Connectedness. Very important. So, what has happened to our schools, our churches, our communities? We go through a series of called social conditioning. We have conditioned our people. We condition our own family members. Let me give you an example. Your child may come up to you and say, Dad, why don't we try something different on the farm? Oh, no. It doesn't work because Grandpa said, you just conditioned. Conditioning happens all the time in work. When I started questioning, why can we not make a living on a couple of 100 hectares? Are you crazy? Just spend the money. Conditioned. We condition in church, in community, our own works. It's very common. Let me show you this little video of what happens when we condition. See, we got volume. Here's no volume, but it's okay. I'll explain it to you. What scientists did, they put a group of monkeys, and what they did is they put the bananas on top, and every time any monkey would reach to the top, they would squirt him with water. There we go.
After some time, no monkey dare go up the ladder, regardless of the temptation. Scientists then decided to substitute one of the monkeys. The first thing this new monkey did was go up the ladder. Immediately, the other monkeys beat him up. After several beatings, the new member learned not to climb the ladder, even though he never knew why. A second monkey was substituted, and the same occurred. The first monkey participated on the beating for the second monkey. The replacements repeated until what was left was a group of 5 monkeys that, even though never received a cold shower, continued to beat up any monkey who attempted to climb the ladder. If you asked the new group of monkeys why the beatings took place, the answer would probably be,
Well, I don't know. That's just how things are done around here.
Does that happen in Portugal? Yes. The moment you become an organic farmer or a regenerative farmer, the whole community looks like, are you crazy? The biggest inhibition for regenerative to spread is the local community. It's brutal. Good example of social conditioning, COVID. Whether you took the shot or not, conditioning. That's why I love sheep. If you want to know about humans, raise sheep. No sheep likes to be outside the herd. It will kill itself to be part of the herd. Now, when I travel the whole thing, let me show you some more of the conditioning reductionism. When I teach regenerative farming all over the world, first thing they say, but Ray, it won't work here. It's too cold. Ray, it's too wet. Ray, it's too dry. If I would get money for every time I'd hear that, I'd be a millionaire. Our reductionist science, that's what the farmers do. They delineate, but they do not understand the connectedness. Why would biology work in all those systems? Let me explain. What is common in all those ecoregions? Whether it's North Dakota, we do no-till and covers. We do it in Afghanistan. We do it in the humid West. What do they all have common? Life. Let me give you an example. In the deserts, there's bacteria. Life. There is life everywhere. It's ubiquitous. The only difference between the soils in Portugal and the United States, the microbes here speak Portuguese. But they still do the same work. So here's the image I want you to look at. This is life. Right now we are breathing in bacteria. Tiny organisms. 90% of you is bacteria. 10% is you. So if somebody calls you a dirt bag, don't take it personally. You're dirt on legs. Ladies and gentlemen, the plant is covered with life from the top to the bottom. You, that is you. We are now knowing the second brain is the gut. Depression is linked to your microflora in your gut. You are a living organism. Life. I love showing this picture. It's one of my favorite slides. I said, farmers, how does that tree survive in an area of compaction? Because farmers talk about compaction a lot. If you tell a farmer, what do you do for compaction? Bring out the tractor and bring out the big one. How does it survive? The most powerful geological force on the planet is life itself. That tree releases acids, breaks rock down. That tree builds association with fungi, break rock down to bring the minerals. They also make association with the bacteria, break rock down. Who do you think brings the nutrients so that you may have the nutrients for your animal, for your plant, and for you? The organisms did. They did that. And I tell people, this is a picture from Australia. You think I thought my soil was bad? That's gypsum salts. And I said, farmers, how did it get dark up there? And they go, life. Organic matter is created by life. If farmers do not understand the soils of life, I cannot help you. Because once you understand it's alive, it changes every aspect the way you manage that farm. Everything. The plant and soil are one. Without plant and without microbe, you have geology. You have rock. I remember one night I was reading a research paper, and I come out running out of the bedroom, and I'm excited. I said, "Hon, the plant and soil are one." She looked at me, and I married you. She looked at me, you're so disturbed. But it was a huge revelation to me. You cannot call it soil unless you have the microbe and the plant. The rest of it's geology. This is why we're going broke. This is a living root leaking liquid sun to feed the microbes. Instead of our farms running on sunlight, we are running on ancient sunlight, diesel, fertilizer. Why do I care about that? Because for this is the most important part of my whole presentation, and it's not going to come out. It didn't work. For some reason, there's a little I'll pretend it's a bunch of little microbes dancing everywhere. But here's another one that's pretty consistent. This is our soils, folks. This is the life that breaks down the residue. Without these organisms, we will be piled with carbon up into the atmosphere. 65% of that material goes up into CO2 to make plant food. 35% makes organic matter. Can you imagine if we didn't have these organisms? So the more you till it, the more you spray it, the more you diminish that ecosystem. This is what we didn't teach in college, or at least I missed it. Well, Ray, you're the only one that went to the bad ag school. This is what we missed. And when I understood it, I went ballistic. This was the game changer. This changed everything for me. All of the connectedness, all the one. So, my job is capture sun so that I build aggregates, so that I have the plants leak it, and I have a complete water cycle. Sun, water cycle, and nutrient cycle, and it's run by diversity. These four processes are the most important job. So I tell farmers, your number one job, capture sun, convert it so that the plant leaks it into the soil to build aggregates. And then without water entering the soil, there is no nutrient cycle. It's run by life, the software of the planet. Now notice here's a great little video showing that 60% of our rain comes from plants evapotranspiring. That's part of the water cycle. And then 40% comes from the ocean. I'm sorry, I got it backwards. 60 from the ocean and 40 from the land. 40% of our rain comes from inland. So please understand the importance of that. So I'm going to skip these two videos because we don't have time. So my goal is to get farmers to understand this. This is a no-till field. And look what happens with 3 years of cover crops. 3 years of life of a living plant converting light energy and making it into chemical energy, liquid sun. 3 years change this soil. Farmers ask me, well, Ray, how long is it going to take me to heal the soil? I said it's a function of you. How committed are you? How intentional? If I was king, there would only be one thing I would ask the farmers to do at the end of the year. Cover the soil. Never leave the ground bare. Because the moment you leave it bare, it does this. But the moment you have a living plant, it starts to transform and create those little aggregates. Infiltration, you see those little tiny marbles? That is the biological fusion of sand, silt, and clay to create little marbles. So the water infiltrates. So what is the goal? I don't know if some of you have ever been to the Biomimicry Institute. How many have you ever seen that website? Good. I love that website. Do you know why I love that thing? It's biomimicry. Mimic life. Some of the best engineering is mimicking life. Look at that humble question. Ask nature. What a humble thing. Why haven't we asked that since the beginning? This is a city. This is the way cities should be built if we would ask nature. These are our cities. Control, force, linear. Do you know that if our cities would be like that, there'd be less crime? It would lower the temperatures. You might even get me to live in the city. I said, maybe. Now, when I go all over, this is what I teach. How do we mimic that architecture, that design? How do you design cover crops that look like the forest? The principles of nature are there. She's covered 24/7. She has animals. She's got diversity. Both the prairies and the forest mimic the same principles. Always covered. There's no fertilizer truck. There's no chemicals. She works in beauty. She's elegant. She's all connected. All the principles there. This is how we apply it. That is a cover crop mix just before our corn, our tomatoes, our soy, whatever we plant, that is the mix. We incorporate diversity into the system. This is a piece of equipment to plant cover crops on top of standing corn. Once you give the farmers the understanding, they will figure it out. Farmers are the best engineers, mechanical engineers in the world. Horrible ecologists, great engineers. They're brilliant. But our school and our education did not teach the ecology of it. In fact, when I first mentioned the word ecology, one of the researchers come up to me and said, Ray, I like your talk, but ecology is a hippie word. I said, eco means study of the house. Economics means the money of the house. When I showed that to an organic conference, they said, Ray, I asked the audience, what is that? And somebody yelled, it's a cancer machine. They did. I said, you know what that cancer machine does? It puts cover crop seed on top of standing corn. And everybody goes, oh. They were excited. This young man in dryland corn became one of our regenerative farmers. He won the yield contest in North Carolina. Regenerative agriculture has been accused. How are you going to feed the world? Your yields are going to be diminished. How many have heard that? Russell Hedrick, what makes him such a good farmer is he's a fireman and a diesel mechanic. And the other reason is he never went to college. He went to the best university in the world, YouTube University. He didn't pick up bad habits like I did. 28.5 metric tons per hectare with 40% less fertilizer. He won the yield contest. And I told Russell, please don't do that. Don't go about yield because it's a big problem with farmers. Well, guess what? I was wrong. Do you know what he did? He proved no-till works. Cover crops work. The new soil test works. Mimicking nature works. Using biologicals work. The university panicked. They had to go check that field 4 times because they have never had in the history of North Carolina a farm with that kind of yield. No irrigation with only 875 millimeters of rain. Why? Because he farms like that, mimicking the forest. When you roll the cover crop, you have the skin of the forest, of the prairie, of the grassland. He's rolling the cover, terminating, planting the corn right into the skin. And then it pops out, and he's capturing sun to the last minute and feeding the microbes. We plant tomatoes that way. We plant cotton that way. It is crossing our country, and we are changing agriculture. That is love and respect for the land. We're planting tomatoes into the skin, mimicking the natural system. I grew up here, went to college here. This is Colorado. There's a county, there's a district called Archuleta County. I'm serious. Our family's been in the Southwest for 500 years. We were the original Spaniards that conquered that whole area. That's where my family, that's why after next week, I'm going to get to go to the Basque area to see the homeland. It was one of my things I wanted to see. This is what my university taught me. 8 years of education, this is what I walked away with. See, we got to leave the ground bare between the trees because the trees, if you put vegetation, is going to steal water and nutrients. How many were taught that way? Raise your hand. All of us were taught competition. But did they ever talk about collaboration? Same area now, we raise pecans and almonds that way. We create a guild. Now you have biodiversity. We've reduced the water use. When farmers tell me, say, but Ray, those plants are going to use more water. And I say to them, you don't understand. You have to use more water to save water. It's the plants that heal the soil and transform them to build more organic matter. Our yields went up. Our water use went down. No more pesticides. No more insecticides. Biomimicry. We raise agaves now. I consult in Mexico. We went from this to this. And Torron sells their tequila like this. Why? Rodrigo. Mindset shift. Watch Kiss the Ground. Different mindset. Now, let me take you to I'm going to show you probably the most powerful thing that ever changed my life. Another butterfly effect. This one was very personal to me. Because remember, I told you I grew up in New Mexico and I went to college in the Chihuahuan Desert. It's Alejandro Carrillos, who farms 30,000 acres, which is about 12,000 hectares of some. I got to see what my forefathers 500 years got to see. The transformation of the desert into grasslands. Started with 100 cows, now he runs 600 cows. Let me show you the butterfly effect and how it changed my life about grazing. Because one of the things I hear as I teach all over, cows are the problem. Cows are ruining the world. The farting that they do. How many have heard that? Oh, that's interesting. You're talking about the farting of the cows. How come you don't talk about the farting of the 9 billion people? I said, that's ridiculous. global warming. And in reality, was it global ignorance about our system? Let me show you. This is what I grew up seeing. That is a common, a view. I would imagine New Mexico is way bigger than Portugal. It is the 5th largest state. It takes me 4 hours, 5 hours to drive from the top of my state to the southern part of my state. One state. For me to visit my parents, it's 12 hours in a vehicle. If you spent 12 hours in the vehicle from Portugal, you would probably die in the car, right? That's too much driving. Look at this. This is the problem. So, how do we fix it? Biomimicry. We're going to mimic these animals. This is why I get so frustrated. See, look at the amount of animals that were back in the 50s. Look at the herd of elephants. Nature does not farm without animals. Look at the amount of animals back in the 50s. Let's show you the power of the animal in our system. We're going to take that animal, the cow, the most vilified creature, and it's not them, it's the management of them. Do you know what's on their skin and their hide? Seed. So you transport seed from an area that's good to a degraded area, and then take the most powerful biological, microbial food to start regenerating the soil. It's called manure. That is in a desert floor. Desert with only 250 millimeters of rain. Then you stomp the ground and you move these animals tightly. Then you get herd impact. And then you put manure and urine. And how do you do this? With fencing and watering at the right place. Like that. Every square inch covered with manure and urine to feed my micro cows. Then Alejandro has 2 Tarahumara cowboys. They move the cows 800 times a year. 800. I can't even get farmers to move the cows one time. 2 cowboys moving 500 cows like buffalo. We took that video, 2 cowboys. Now look at the impact. Took that landscape, hundreds of miles. In fact, the majority of our western country of the United States is desertified. My professors, my range professor says, that ground will never go back to grassland because those are invasive and it suppresses the other grasses. That's what I was taught in college, and they still teach it today. My daughter's a veterinarian, and she went to the same school I went, and the professor sat there for a whole hour dismissing Ellen Savory. And it was Ellen Savory that taught me, that taught Alejandro to mimic nature. He said, Alejandro says, thank God my cows do not read the university literature. There it is. Just cows. No irrigation. The temperatures are brutal there. 250 millimeters of rain. It is so hot there, you put an egg on the concrete, it will fry. They get the rain within 3 months. How powerful are cows? I will say that the people from South Africa and Mexico are some of the best grazers in the world. That's just my humble opinion. There's grazers everywhere. They took livestock, that's an ore mine. How do you remediate rock? Bring the cows, mycorrhizal fungi, and then you do this. I saw with my own eyes. When I saw that, it was emotional for me. It was emotional in many avenues of it, many levels. The first emotion was, I cannot believe that I accepted a degraded landscape. 2, I never want to hear an excuse. When I talk to farmers, if you can do it here, we can do it anywhere in the world. You're just making excuses. Be honest about it. You just don't want to do it. Regenerative farming and ranching is hard work. You have to think more. But the rewards are amazing. Healing. It changed my life. Butterfly effect. We can heal the planet very easily. What's going to help that healing process? When I saw that article come out, I was so excited. I love this image. Women, look at the new boss. A lot of times they buy the food for their family. It's important. You remember the movie, The Greek Wedding? The man may think he's the head, I'm the neck, but the neck turns the head. It is powerful food. It is coming into our country. Robert Kennedy is making a huge impact because he understands the connection of the soil all the way to the human health. I love millennials and the younger people. They're all about food. They read labels. It is changing. It is coming. Whether people realize or not, the seed is planted. There's a giant transformation. Good. I'm getting the thing. We used to be like this. Now we're like this. Organic, mimic nature. I got a couple of more slides and we're done. He's telling me, get off, get off. Yep. Folks, notice I had artificial intelligence say, hey, I want you to draw the right lens, the right framework, how I interpret the world. See, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter how I look at the world. When I work with a farmer and rancher, I interpret all science from nature's lens, from her filters, from her paradigm. She sets the rules. Those are very expensive glasses. Over 30 to 40 years of understanding and humility. They came at a great price. I question all science through the lens. I'll make this last statement. A couple last statements. Folks, I question all science. I've only met one non-biased scientist in my life. They were dead. We're all biased. I will show you my bias, nature. These are the principles, and I'm going to say one of the principles that I teach that we taught the 4 days. I'm going to talk about one that's probably one of the most important. All of them are important, but the one is community, of not working by yourself. I think farmers, one of the worst things is for farmers to work by themselves. I said, farmers, if you're 40, you do not have 40 more years. You have 40 opportunities, 40 chances, because nature's so complex. Work in a group. And to the last slide for you, John. The word sustainable. I have such an issue with that word. This is the word sustainable, what it means to me. When I first used it, And I said, if somebody comes up to my wife, Sonia, and says, Sonia, how does it really feel to be married to Ray? It's sustainable. Is that what we want? No, and you really press us. Oh, no. When I see Ray, my life renews every day. It's renewal. Regenerative means renewal. Nature renews all the time. She does the renewal process. Me, I think the word sustain for humans probably shouldn't be allowed. Can you sustain the sun? Can you make the plant grow? What can you really sustain? What can you really do? And the reality is just move the pieces. The system sustains itself. We just help it heal. So I want to thank you guys for this regenerative movement. And I really thank you, Carlos, for bringing me out here, and that I had the opportunity to interface with an amazing people like the Portuguese. Your streets are amazing, clean, the food's beautiful. I think I may just come and live with you guys. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, when I was using the sustainable, I wanted to use John as the example. He goes, don't do that, because Anna would take advantage of that.
But our marriage is regenerative, I hope.
It is regenerative. She told me.
So we are a little bit short in time, but we have time for 2 questions if someone wants to raise their hand.
Yeah.
Please. So, one here. Can you?
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
The mainstream is going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like, we drove through a lot of very smelly fields to get here. And I just wonder, do you have anything that gives hope that the mainstream is changing?
Yeah.
In America, here.
Let me share something. Thank you for asking that question. It's very profound. I'll be brutally honest. When I was 40 years old, I had no hope for agriculture. None. Do you know, in the last 15 years, the increase of cover crops in our country has increased by 75%? Did you know that the word biology is in all of our magazines? If you had asked us 15 years ago, none. None. Regenerative agriculture is spreading throughout the whole world. But please understand where we're at. We're less than 1%. Here's what I do. I focus on the 1% and help them be successful. That's where we're at. We are not at 13.5% for a cultural transformation. We're not there. We're at 1%. I had no hope. Now the young farmers do not want to do conventional. They want to do regenerative. The youth are coming back. I have never had so much hope in my life. The reality is, you might see visions of it. Be encouraged. It is happening. And I'm so excited because I had none. So it's going to be slow. Please understand, it took thousands of years to destroy our planet. It took hundreds of years to get our country, especially our soils, so degraded. But we can heal them, and 3 to 5 years we can see major transformations. Very hopeful. Wonderful question. Thank you for asking that. Another one. Yes.
Very quickly, when you teach us and show us all this success regarding agriculture, I believe behind it there's a social part of it,
Yeah.
and also the economic model.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about it?
The reality is, thank you for asking that, because one of the things, when I left college, they didn't teach us the social aspect. It's all social. It's cultural. I would even argue it's even spiritual. And the economics, the farm has to make money. If it's not economical, why are you doing it? You have to support the kids. You have to support the family. But what's happening is a majority of the wealth is going to the tool makers. I tell farmers, why are you buying seed? Farmers used to raise their own seed. Do you know that Dr. Diesel invented the diesel engine to run on vegetable oil? I had an old truck that could run on vegetable oil. Farmers could run their whole pivot and all the irrigation off an engine that runs the electric motor to run their pivots. We lost the art of regeneration. We have not taught our farmers. They lost that art. The economics doesn't come out because we give our money to the tool makers. The regenerative system, they keep the money. I have farmers no longer buy fertilizer. Do you know who was the most opposed to Kiss the Ground documentary? The universities and the companies that sold things. Who do you think owns the universities in our country? Who do you think owns them? Corporate America. So that's the social and the cultural aspect of our situation. That's why I don't go to Washington, D.C. That's why I couldn't stand it anymore, and I left, and I retired from the government. I knew that we were never going to change the government from the top down. You never change from the top down. It always starts from the bottom up. That's why 12 fishermen have 2 billion Christians all over globally. From the bottom up is how we change it. One farmer at a time. That's my mantra. One heart, one mind at a time. Right?
We only have time for a final question, and this young guy that I don't know his name. What's your name?
Pedro.
Pedro raised his hand, so he has the privilege to be on the stage. We Ray, the microphone is.
I think your presentation was wonderful,
Thank you.
but I have a question. How did you learn all of this?
How do I what?
How did you learn all of this?
How did I learn it? First, give me a hug. Means they're the future. Thank you. Thank you. The way I learned it, and I'm just sharing from the heart. I think the thing that helped me the most is reading my Bible, really. The Bible has the most ecology than any other book. It kept me well-grounded. And let me give you an example. The danger about human nature, the more education you get, you tend to think you're very smart and you think you're educated. But the Bible kept me very humble and realize that I need help from externally. So it always helped me realize I'm just a servant and I serve you and everybody else. But I also knew if I was going to be a very sharp tool that God would use me to help bring healing, I had to know more than my professors. I had so much passion and love for the farmer and the rancher and for the land, I had to learn. And I read every bit and time I had a chance. And then my wife would see another bill in the mail that I spent $250 for a book. I read incessantly. I read all the time. I had to know more than the farmer and the rancher. Because I'm going to tell you, the farmer and rancher is going to challenge you. And they want to see a dent in your armor. I've had it many times where the farmers stand up in your face, but yeah, but yeah, but yeah. But after a period of time with a shovel and walking, I get it now. You have to have a love and passion for the people. And if you have that and you care, you will do anything to overcome yourself. I'll say this last thing. I hated public speaking. I hated it. In fact, growing up at your age, I had a speech impediment. School was very hard for me. And I had, it was very difficult. But once I understood my passion and my love for the land and for the people, I overcame me. One of the hardest things about public speaking is overcoming you. So that's what helped me to learn. Read, read, read. And study and go work with somebody like I want to work with a regenerative farmer and rancher. And a lot of young people ask me, Ray, should I go to college? Probably not. I would take biochemistry, math, the sciences, and then go learn with a regenerative farmer. You'll learn way more. So thank you for the question.